And finally then, cutscene 2. This is where when the fence is down and you go to the spaceship and you touch the spaceship starts to fly away and another camera is going to follow it. So first things you should do, and I've already done them, I'm not going to waste your video time doing this, is get yourselves a fuel canister and lerps close to here so you can test it more easily. Remembering that now that the main camera is far away, when you play it you're going to hold Alt so that it zooms in really, really quickly like that. Okay, so you want lerps and a fuel canister right there. So we'll start with the spaceship. It's going to need an animation. I think it's ship animation. Let's look down here. Ship. Yeah, there you go. And the ship animation, you can play it automatically just to see what's going to go on. We'll keep our eye on it there, and you can see there in both here when I play it what's going to happen. It takes off. So we want to prevent it from taking off, but still keep it active. Next, we'll need our other camera, so game object, camera. And before you do that, make sure that you are looking at the spaceship. Make sure you're over here so that when you add it, it's close to where we're going to need to be. And right now, it's all mixed up over here because we've got different levels going on. So the first thing, different depths. First thing I'm going to do is change my depth to B. 3 will probably do it. If I go 3, then I can see where my camera is with nothing else in the way. And I'm in way too close. So it just has to look down on the ship. So E. Looks like that's going to do the trick. That's good enough for now. And we are going to want it to be the full screen, so we're not going to bother changing the, any of those things like we do with the other one. We'll just leave these the way they are. And I better change the name to be Cutscene Camera 2. Oh, and it needs a smooth look at component. Smooth look at. And the target will be the spaceship. So the camera is all looked after. We've got our spaceship as animation. The next thing that it's going to need is to make sure it's got a mesh collider, which it does, and make sure that the player has a mesh collider, which it doesn't, or any kind of collider. So let's add a collider. I'm just going to add a sphere collider. Okay, so let me focus in on my player F and make sure that that sphere collider is in an okay place. Not really. So the sphere collider, the Y, right in the middle should be fine. Let me just see if this works. Did I disable my camera? No, I've got to disable the cutscene camera too, so that we can see the regular camera for now. Alt. So can he move? Yeah. And can he touch things? Can he collide? Yeah. So both the spaceship and the player have a collider, and in order for a collision event to be noticed, one of them needs to have a rigid body, and this worked for me on the spaceship, so we'll do it here. I'm going to add a component rigid body. And there's another thing here which you may recall, that if we use gravity it's going to sink immediately. So if you keep your eye over there, you'll see that it sinks. So we do not want to use gravity. Alright, so there are lots of little things there to make sure that you've got both on the spaceship and lerps and of course the camera. So now we're ready for the script. We'll make this from scratch. I'll right click and create it on my scripts folder so it's in the right place, JavaScript. And we'll call this Spaceship Collision Handler. And we go. We're not going to need any of these. Our main method is going to be an onCollision enter. OnCollision enter, which takes in a variable we'll call col for collision, and it is a collision. And collision will turn blue. The onCollision enter didn't because it's an older method, but it works great. So we're going to need several variables. Not several, we'll need 4. So I'll fast forward this after I've typed them in. So there they are, pretty self-explanatory. I think camera for the ship will be the new one that we just made. The main camera will be the near camera. Spaceship is a spaceship, and the level completed sound, I forget, but we'll find a sound that's appropriate. So let's just save this right now and build it. Make sure we can see our, don't worry about that warning. Make sure we can see our 4 variables, and we'll actually move this also now onto the spaceship. So here we go. We'll take a look at it on the spaceship. There they are, and we might as well link these up now. Camera for ship is going to be that. The main camera is our near camera. Spaceship is a spaceship. And I think Jingle. Game over Jingle, yeah. I think that's the one. So that's ready to go. So what we want to do first of all is make sure that when the 2 of these guys collide, that the collision's actually happening. So back in the code, we're going to say if they collide. So we say if, we use the COL, which I think when we go like that goes to color. So let's just go COL, whatever, and then we'll fix it in just a moment. Dot game object dot name. So if it is the name player, now we can change this back to COL with the code completion not bothering us. So if the collision that hits the thing that this script is on, which is the ship, so if there's a collision between the ship and a game object by the name of player, we want to make sure that we know that, and we're going to use the debug.log, and we're just going to go blah 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 blah. But whenever you do blah 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 blah, you better say where it is, so you might have to get rid of it later on out of all your scripts. So this is space ship collision, and that's enough to remind me if I look later on, I think. So I'm going to save this. No errors, and we're going to run it, and hopefully when the 2, the player and the spaceship, collide, we're going to see that down in the bottom left hand corner. Alright, here we go. Okay, and I'm not getting it. There are a couple of things it can be. So this reminds me of one thing before we try probably what it is. If we go back over to here, can you guys just change some of this? I'll have to do these videos again some other time. But any reference at all to the level goal, just get rid of it. Okay, we had a level goal up here before. Var level goal. And this is the way that it used to work. Game object. Just get rid of it. No level goal at all. And then there's 1 in the awake, 2, and 3 places where I'd like you to just comment out. And again, maybe I'll redo these videos at some point where I don't do these to begin with, but this is what you would have done the way that it worked before, but it's much better the way we're doing it now. So just get rid of all references to level goal back in the level. And then the thing that I think it is actually that I didn't make my collider big enough, my sphere collider. So let's make it, that ought to do the trick. So let's test it now. Again, we're looking for when the collision happens to see it down here. So, whoops. Alright, so when I hit it, there it is down there. Okay, so that's the one. So that's good news. So now that we know the collision is working, we can go and continue on with our code in the spatial collision handler. Probably don't need that anymore, so I'm going to comment it out. So what are we going to do? the first thing that I want to do is move lerps so he's out of the way, so it looks like he's disappeared with the ship. So we're going to go this col dot game object, which is what it is, dot transform dot position dot y. So again, take that back to col. So it is a game object. It's the player, and the game object has a bunch of stuff, including a transform component. And the transform component in turn has a position, and the position has x, y, and z. So we're going to make the y, which is the one that goes up and down, just put it really, really high up. So let's just see what 7. So I mean, if we go up to 100, that'll get him out of the way. Let's go 1,000. So we're going to go over here and make him go to 1,000, way out of the way, without having to remove him or anything like that. So we're going to save this, and again, we're going to test. Take your time with this. There's a lot you got to do. So when I hit it, I should disappear. No. So that's the problem here. We're going to pause it and see. Well, I mean, this just goes to show you, there's just so much that can go wrong if you don't take your time. And I'm going to leave this here. I'm going to leave this little glitch that I've had. Transform is not transform. So that's what it was. So once again, but that was actually a good point, though. When you get an error down here, double click it. It's going to send you to the code, and you'll see where the error was. So it was here someplace. I looked really closely at it, and I found it. Alright, so when he hits, bang, and don't worry about that, but obviously something is happening where he's going way up, and the camera was having a hard time finding him, so that's probably fine. So the next thing that we need to do, though, is we need to switch then the camera, and rather than put everything inside this big if, I'm going to make a couple of functions below to split this up a little bit. I'm going to call one camera switching. It doesn't exist yet, so there will be an error if we try to, well, if we check right now, right? If we go build all, it's going to say it doesn't know what this is. That's the error, unknown identifier. Well, we'll make it down below. Outside of this function is its own function. So now the compiler will know what it is when we build it. It knows what it is. There's nothing there yet. But so we'll do that next. And the other thing that we're going to do is all the flying away type stuff. So we'll call that flying away. That's a good name for it. And we'll do that in just a moment as well. Down here is a separate function. This is better for testing too, to be able to isolate any issues that we're going to have. So the camera switching, we should be able to get some code to copy from the level status. And it was all this sort of stuff right here. So we can take that right there in the unlocked exit, have level status, copy it, and paste it here, because it's basically the same thing. The main camera's audio listener is going to be false. Our new camera, which is this, the camera for ship. First of all, it'll become active, so we can actually see what it's looking at, and then we'll make its audio listener to be true, so we'll hear the sound as it would be heard by that camera. And that's basically it. So we'll save that, and instead of that tumbling around after lerps goes away, we should see the new camera. Better check it. One error. Main camera. The main camera. Here I called it the main camera. Okay, that's why we check for errors. The main camera. In the other script it was called main camera. Here it's called the main camera. You might have picked that one up already. Just to be sure, build. And we're okay. Don't worry about the warning. Save. And we're almost there. Testing each time we do some change. And now, move this out of the way. Now he should go up and the camera should switch. It does. Good. And flying away. What we're going to do there is play the animation. it's ready to go, but we haven't triggered it yet. So here we go. In the flying away, we'll go the spaceship. I'll just copy and paste. It's the easiest thing, the surest thing to do. Dot its animation. Animation, there it is. Dot, capital P, play. And I'll only test 2 more times. I want to make sure this is working, then I'll do the last little bit. So will it animate? Yes, it does, and the camera follows it, so we're good. The last thing then is the audio. So let's say we're going to play the audio from the source of the spaceship. So audio source, it'll come up, there it is. Dot play clip at point. Where are we going to play it? Well, what are we going to play first of all? We need to know the audio clip. The audio clip is this one. And then where are we going to play it? We're going to play it at the spaceship. Not its transformed opposition. So wherever it is, wherever it's transformed, X, Y, and Z are position. And that'll make it sound good. And then we're going to go to location.load level. If we have a level called game over, and we should in our build. So when the sound is over, it'll take us to game over. Better check it. Okay, what doesn't it like? Oh, I didn't finish this properly, so there we go. Save, build, and we're good. Okay. So we should have the animation and we didn't wait. We just went straight to game over. Well, that part is working. We're going to game over, but we should wait. So we're going to go this yield thing, and we're going to wait for seconds. How many seconds? Well, what we can do is the spaceship. I think I still have that copied and pasted in. Spaceship, its animation, its length of it. Length. No animation dot clip dot length. Okay, that'll do it. I said I was going to test one more time, but I forgot about that. So here we go. I don't know what I deleted a light by accident. I'm not going to worry about that for the video, but I deleted a light. When I deleted something, whoa, I didn't realize it was a light. Okay, and the music should play as long as the clip. And it should go to game over. I'm going to do one last little thing. And that will be it, I swear. And that is I'm going to shorten that by just maybe a couple of seconds. And that's that. Save, and that is LERPS.